Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's Blue, and we are finally back with another video. Smash that like button if you missed me. I would appreciate that. But we are here. I want you guys to know I have been looking into 8.3 patch notes, all the information about 8.3, and I am so excited for the future of Feral. And I want to just go ahead and bring you all that information that I got brewing inside me. Also, I know I promised you guys a single target raid guide for this patch. You're going to get that as well. And you guys are going to be shocked. Guys are really going to like what I got to give you. Hope you guys enjoy. Take it easy. Peace. So this is the standard build right here. We are going to go ahead and pop the Incarn build in Moment of Clarity. These are going to increase our shred damages. What's really good about the Incarn build is with the Incarn, during its activation, which is 30 seconds, when we do shred our target, and I do apologize, I'm lagging really bad right now, I'm sorry. But when we do shred our target, the damage of our critical strike is increased, it's doubled. So we go ahead, I'm around 48%. Once I go ahead and pop a food buff, I'm around 49 point something percent. So I'm almost 100% of my shreds are hitting, and they're doing a lot of damage. So this is the big part of the build right here. We'll go ahead and put that again. So really quickly, definitely check this out. This is a really fun build to do. What else do you also need to know? Well, we do need Benthic here. So what you're looking for Benthic here, and I'll go over really quickly, is the strongest one is the feet. So you're going to want the feet where it says increased damage of your critical strike. If you can get it socketed, this is what you want. The next one is going to be in between hands and wrists. I'm not sure exactly which one's the strongest. I went for hands next, which you want the one that says droplets will do damage or heal you. And then the next one is the wrist, which says slowing. It'll do frost damage, but also slows your target. Now, also, for certain bosses, you are also going to want to upgrade the waist. This one will probably be your last upgrade, as the effect increases your damage by 2%. This effect doesn't increase with getting stronger gear, so you can see I'm still waiting to level this up onto the last one. But really, it's only going to be minimal. It's only going to give me a few stats when all I need is that 2%. So you can save this one till last. So that's something you're going to need. Also, what you're going to want is a standard build. Condensed life force. At the bottom it says when Azurite spike deals damage, increase your damage against that target for 5% for 5 seconds. Really, really strong. Now, also on certain bosses, you might actually want to look at your own logs. For certain bosses on Eternal Palace, like this first boss, for instance. This first boss, the boss fight is really short. You might even want to think about putting a Vision of Perfection for either Conflict of Strife or Memory of Lucid Dreams. I did sim them. I logged. I figured out the damage. These two are very minimal. I believe there's like for me there was like maybe 50% damage reduction for either one of them. So they're both about very similar. So it's kind of up to you which one you'd want to switch out. Not really important there. But if the fight is longer than 3 minutes, or quite longer than 3 minutes, this is the standard build you want to do. Oof, I am laggy. Hopefully it's not too bad for you guys. Just want to try to show you the fight of what the damage can do. It's probably gonna be a little off because I'm so laggy. So what you do want to get used to, you guys, is we are no longer using blood talons, which that means is don't regrowth. It's very difficult to learn that. Also, I'll show you my crit, by the way, when I pop my Tiger's Fury. So we're actually over it. I'm not sure. Oh, because I'm running my dungeon gear, which is usually a bit different. So we're gonna be 100% crit. So like I said, don't pop your regrowth at all, which is also really nice about this build, is you can refresh your dots whenever they're below that time frame that you want to refresh them so they can get the greatest impact. So we don't need to worry about, oh, I need to refresh this at a certain time. Depending on regrowth, you can rake whenever you want. You can thrash whenever you want. It's really good. The thing you really want to be concerned about is during Incarnation, you just want to get the most shreds possible. So we'll go ahead and try a fight. We'll see what it looks like. Quite laggy, but it's alright, we'll see. So you can kind of get the gist of it. I mean, right now we're kind of out of our damage, and this is the part where you just survive. But it's still really, really strong. So we'll just go a few more so you can kind of see the gist of damage. I'm going to go ahead and show you some actually damage meters, some damage charts, what we're doing with the build. And if you guys are interested, I do have my stats on screen. I understand if you're watching on the phone, it may be difficult. But other than my crit, which keeps on adjusting, it keeps on changing, I'm right around 16% haste, 46 mastery, and versatility right now is 10%. That is also, of course, with my Conflict of Strife, which is just going ham, and it's all the way procced right now. But that's kind of it. I haven't really gone into the Ashfane Coral really deeply, but essentially what I do is I'm just going to wait and pop it during my second Incarn. During your Incarn, you're going to have some of your Incarn where we can actually use it with your Tiger's Fury. When Tiger's Fury falls off, that's when you should be popping your Ashfane Coral, so you can get that 100% crit for a lot longer. But that's essentially it, you guys. We're looking around 50 DPS. Once my Incarn goes up, and look, it procced off that, so I'm pretty strong right now. Sad I didn't get any more shreds than that, but it's fine. So that's what we're essentially looking at. So you're going to see Shred and Ferocious Bite. They're going to be pretty close, but usually Shred's probably going to go ahead a little bit longer. But yeah, this build is really good. I really encourage you guys to test it out. I'm really excited. I want to show you guys my logs, and like I said before, this isn't to gloat. I just think that you know, right now there needs to be a change. And I hope you guys try it out and test it out, and we can get some big numbers on there. So let me go ahead and pull up my monitor. And we can look right here. So here's my current logs. All these logs right here, I mean, obviously I haven't progressed as far, but my logs currently, this is 1 week of trying this out. You know, I've really wanted to try out the Incarn. I've done different things with having Conflict of Strife, I believe, as my major. I believe it's Conflict of Strife? No, I'm sorry. It's Vision of Perfection as my major, and that wasn't as strong. I finally resulted in just the way this one is, and then just throwing Vision of Perfection in for shorter fights. But it took me a while to figure it out, you guys, but here it is. So we parsed 98% on the first boss, 99 on Radiance, 99 on Blackwater Behemoth, 96% on Lady Ashfane. So I do want to bring up one specific. So Blackwater Behemoth, we're going to look in a little bit more detail. So we go ahead and pull up the logs. These are the logs of every single feral that is parsed really high on this one. So actually, some of these are different. Different nationalities. So I'm actually just going to go ahead, but we can see here. So we parsed 15% out of every feral that's done this fight, which is pretty good, right? And we're going to go ahead and just see the United States, so we can get a little clearer picture. We can look at other people's damages and whatnot. And I do apologize about my internet. It's being really funky lately. Hopefully it fixes itself before next reset, right? Okay, so here we are. We're 5th. So what I do want to show you, and I'll expand these because I understand that you may be difficult. You're probably watching this from your phone. So let's look at number 1. So number 1, the standard build that they're doing, is this what we want to be concerned about? Obviously gear, that's going to come, right? So they're running Sabertooth, which is fine. Soul of the Forest, Blood Talons. This is the standard build. It looks like they're only running 2 Wild Flesh Rings in this one, so that's good for them. They have a Blood Mist and a Jungle's Fury. I mean, so not even really a lot of the best traits, but it's most likely because this fight was 3 minutes and 29 seconds long, whereas my fight was 3:50. So it's probably just the fact that the time was really, really low. And that's generally what we're going to have with Parses. You're going to have the lower times for doing better. So anyways, standard build. That's what I want to get at right here. Standard build again. Okay. Standard build. Standard build. And now you got me, okay? So 5th. First time trying out this build. Out of the United States, we parsed 5. Out of the world, we parsed 15. So you guys, really strong. Like I said, you're going to want 3 Wild Flesh Rings, by the way. Really strong build, and I think you guys should really test it out. Let me know. Leave some comments. Test it out this next week. Tell me what you think. Hopefully you guys can beat me. Let's change up these parses. Let's get some higher damage for Feral. But I'm really excited about that. Okay. So what are my opinions for the future of Feral? Well, you guys, I think with increasing our stats, it's it's going to be a little bit different, honestly, because I think with the new changes to the Titan forging, the gear not really procking higher, it may change the stats at all. I'm just expecting with the new expansion, so right now we're around 35% crit. I would expect, hey, we're going to get stronger gear. The values of our stats are going to increase, but I'm not sure. I can't say that honestly, because you do have to remember that I think they're also changing the fact that gear will not drop any longer with sockets. So you can see I got 1 socket, 2 sockets, 3 sockets, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8 sockets. Okay, that's a lot. That's 400 extra stats to my critical strike, which is a lot. So I don't know if the gear is going to, give me 400 extra, critical strike. That's really tough to tell. Hopefully it can. If not, I think we can still get close to the same values, which would be really good. But anyways, let's pretend that our stats are going to slightly increase a little bit, which should be expected with increased gear. With an increase of stats, with an increased critical strike, I would expect the Incarn build to do better. The reason the Incarn build is doing so well now and parsing well now is because if you do have a good set of gear, you're towards the end game, you've pretty much been running a whole bunch of dungeons, you have the best of the best, this is when the Incarn is really going to pop off. You are going to need a substantial amount of crit. We can make up for that by having 2 Jungle's Furies, as you saw in the video. So we have 2 Jungle's Furies. We can get our 100% crit during our Incarn of, or 100% crit of our shreds during our Incarn, which is really important. So that's going to be what's needed. Now, what also makes this even stronger is we did see how much our shreds is doing. So our shreds are just doing so much damage. 38k, 38.5k average damage, popping off around 64k. Our bites are doing 74, so that's pretty good. Our bites and our shreds are, like pretty close. They're just pounding out. So what is going to make us stronger in the future? Well, we do have to take a look at the replacement. What is Benthic gear, or not Benthic gear? What is the Titan Forge being replaced by? Well, they are being replaced by the corruption. Okay, so what is it about this corruption that is going to be strong for ferals? Well, there's a few things. There is stats that are going to increase our critical strike gained, so that's going to help us get the crit that we need. Same with versatility. These are our strong stats, crit and verse. But also we have the increases damage you deal with critical strikes. We have 30 seconds where all of our shreds, all the durations within the shreds within that duration are going to crit, and they're already our top damage. We see that we're critting a crap ton with our shreds. We're critting 58% of the time during that fight, which lasted 2 minutes and 10 seconds. I was going to get another Incarn off, which would be a whole bunch more crits, which would help this average out a little bit more. But anyways, this is going to be strong. This is going to make Feral extremely, extremely strong single target. The future looks really good for us. I also wanted to talk about something with this corruption that I think a lot of people misinterpreted. I watched a lot of videos, and I think there was things that were misinterpreted. Obviously, when you look at Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3, there's a difference in corruption. What we're going to be looking at, you guys, I'm not playing in the PTR at all. What we are going to be looking at, what we're going to be wanting is Tier 1. The beginning of the game, we don't want a lot of corruption. There are going to be things during the game that we work towards to reduce our corruption, but at the beginning we only want Tier 1s. We want 5 corruption values. So it's like let's take a look at our gear, and we could even think about this. We can look at it mathematically. So what gear is going to drop corruption? I don't think head, shoulders, back, we're going to get a special back, which is probably going to reduce our corruption, and chest. So these aren't going to give us corruption. So we got 1 item, possibly weapon, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, we got 10. That's an easy value to think about. So 10 corruptions. Let's say we all have the best piece available at the start of the game, and that's 5. We only want 5. That's 50 corruption, which is going to get debuff, which is pretty much impossible for us to be actually dealing with unless we can get reduced values. Which means we don't want Tier 2, we don't want Tier 3. We can barely sustain Tier 1, right? So that's what we're going to want. The things you're also going to be looking for is, like we said, the critical strike damage increase. This is going to be the top one. This is going to increase our damage by a huge amount. And I don't know what happened. I can't click. by a huge amount. Next, you're going to be looking for increases your critical strike gain from some sources and versatility from sources. This is going to make it so that you don't even need BIS gear. Of course, if you have BIS gear with this stats, it's going to be great, but it's mostly going to be the kind of the same as now, the meta right is now, where if you get gear and it has a socket, most likely that socket is going to be your best gear. I have boots, 455, haste, mastery. I don't care about either one of those stats, but hey, it gives me a socket, gives me 50 extra stats that I can put, which equals out to being better than a BIS without a socket, right? So it's kind of the current meta where even if you get a crappy piece of gear, but it gives you that extra damage of your critical strikes, it's going to be important. So we want to look for those. So let's even look at what we're talking about stat-wise. And we all want to look at stat 1, tier 1, and I'll explain why. But we can see right here, increases damage of critical, or increases the amount of critical strike you gain from all sources by 2%, right? And this even stacks up to 3%, or to 4% on tier 3. Now let me explain why you do not want tier 3 if you didn't understand the 50 value thing. So tier 3 is 4%, so it's obviously greater, but look here. Tier 3 is either 20 corruption or 25. How much tier 1s can we get to fill in for that tier 3? Well, we can get 4. Okay, so let's look at this again. 4 times 2 is 8. We're doubling the amount. So tier 3 is not good. The only time we're actually going to want these higher tiers is if we have a crap ton of amount of reduction later on in the game, where it's just like, hey, I have like 60 reduction of corruption. You know, I definitely want to start increasing the amount of other than tier 1, because even with tier 1 with only equaling 50, I still have no corruption, right? So I want to increase my stats by a little bit. So that's what it's going to be. I think that's what the predictions and of my predictions of what the game's going to be like. So 2, 3, 4%. So you want 2s. Versatility, you want that as well. Most likely you're going to want some of that versatility. It might not be as strong, so we might actually not want it at all though, because usually versatility gear is hard to come by, and increased versatility of 2% when the value is only 400 versus a critical strike, 2% of 1,800 is a lot higher. So this one might actually not be very good. It depends on, you know, the gear drops and what your value at the time of critical strike is. You know, the lower the value, the less strong that 2% will be. So take that, food for thought. But then, of course, the bread and butter, this is the one that you really, really want, is increase the damage that you deal with critical strikes. 5%, 6%, 7%. This is all PTR, but this is extremely strong, you guys. 5% alone. If you got 5% with 10 gear, that's 50%. Increases the damage you do with critical strike by 50%. That is insane. So that is possibly something that, you know, if it drops with every single gear that we're talking about, that is a possibility. So our max damage was 64. So we're talking about 50% more of that. That's a lot. That's 120. 120k. So it's equivalent of a byte, which we could possibly be doing. So that's the future of Feral. And just think, 30 seconds of just doing a whole bunch of those critical strikes, 30 seconds of every single shred you do being 120k. That is insane. My predictions for you is that they will drop, but what you're going to be doing is they're going to be extremely difficult to obtain. The best thing for you to obtain them, and I need to work on this myself, because I'm a pug. I guild hop. I can't find guilds, but most importantly, I dungeon hop. I can't find dungeon groups. You are going to want a leather dungeon group, you guys. This group, I think this gear is going to be extremely hard to find, and you don't want it just going to a random person. You'd rather run with the same group. Go ahead and get a Resto Druid. You will be Feral, probably get a Demon Hunter, a Rogue, probably get a Tanking Monk, something like that, or if you want to run with a Boomkin, some other kind of leather group where you guys can pass items back and forth, be like, oh, okay, 2% haste dropped. Well, haste for me as a Feral is not good. I'll go ahead and give that to the Boomkin, or I'll give that to the Resto Druid, you know, or something. So we can trade items amongst each other, or else it's going to be very difficult for you to get those gear. So try to get the groups together, do what you can. It's going to really make Feral pop off. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. This is getting quite long. Leave a thumbs up, subscribe. We'll go ahead and send you out we'll be definitely sending out making other guides for when the patch hits. A little bit into the patches when I have a better knowledge of the things. But this, I think this is pretty good knowledge for you right now. Leave a like I said, thumbs up. Leave some comments. I'd love to read your comments and talk about some theory crafting. But that's it. Take it easy. Peace.